The FGC community at face value is just people who enjoy fighting games and everything that goes with it. But if you dive deeper, you'll see that big divide in the community because, you know, Mortal Kombat is for people who play Street Fighter. But that's just a Tuesday in our community. The FGC constantly trash each other to the point that we got divided into 4 factions. 2D games, anime, 3D games, and brawlers. Now 2D is the traditional of fighting games where, you know, old schools like Street Fighter, where you're just on one plane and you only can move left, right, up, and down. Anime is basically 2D on crack, but the ability to cancel almost any attack into another attack, super jumping, air blocking, advanced blocking, and at least 3 gauges on the screen. 3D is just fighting games on a 3-dimensional plane, which allows them to sidestep, so you have the ability to dodge vertical attacks and punch them in the face, or if they do a horizontal attack, you just dodge into a hook punch. And brawlers are the black sheep of the FGC. And for the longest time, fighting games had a hierarchy. Street Fighter being king, Tekken being queen, and whoever at the time, 3rd place. At one point it was Guilty Gear, at one point it's Killer Instinct, and at one point it was Injustice. It always switches up depending on the year. Street Fighter 4 was dominating for a while to the point that games like KI and KOF was just in the shadows. But however, thanks to the fall of Street Fighter 5, which took away the components of game elements that people loved in Street Fighter 4, helped shine a light to games like Injustice 2, Tekken, and Revelator 2. Which is funny because all 3 of those games came out the same month. Street Fighter 4 was the dominant game when it came to fighting games. When you said fighting games, the first thing people thought of was Street Fighter. And Street Fighter 4 just remained king for the longest time because it had great fundamental game mechanics and really great value with a fantastic cast of characters and really great gameplay. 2D will always be a classic and fun, but for some reason some people think it's obsolete, but honestly I don't think 2D will be going anywhere no time soon. I have very little experience in 3D games, but I've played every single Tekken and every single Soul Calibur, and one thing I know, the learning curve is ridiculous in that game. You either know how to juggle the crap out of somebody, or you're just a button masher. It's nothing like 2D games in my opinion, to where I can stop playing that for 2 months and still know how to do decent combos. But when it comes to a 3D game, oh my goodness, the buttons, it just, you gotta go back to trainer mode, because you're basically a noob again for just stop playing for a week. Well, now thanks to Soul Calibur 5 bombing and the giant gap between Tekken 6 and 7, we really didn't see that many traditional 3D games. I mean, we had DOA, but that's for casuals, if you know what I mean. 3D is some bit scarce. I mean, there's Virtua Fighter, but honestly, that's not a big take on 3D games. A lot of people don't know about that. But honestly, there's not that many 3D fighters out there. At one point, 2D just reigned supreme when we had arcades, but they're not around no more. And 3D just didn't really take off as big, but they're still great. I mean, Tekken will always be a great game, but honestly, that's like the only big 3D fighting game. Now, anime, that's my forte. I love anime, and it is slowly rising to become the top dog. And a lot of thanks to help is Fighter Z. That's going to bring a lot of casuals in when it shows up, but you gotta admit, anime is definitely on the rise. When it comes to the learning curve, it's kind of like 3D games. It is hard, but it's easily more memorable since you're still in a 2D plane. It's easy to get back into, but oh my goodness, have you seen combos from BlazBlue and Guilty Gear? Those combos get ridiculous at a time. In my opinion, anime is super flashy, so it's more entertaining to me and others to watch. I would rather sit back and watch any anime fighter than a different fighting game because they're super flashy and, again, entertaining. Now, Guilty Gear put anime on the map, and along the side of BlazBlue and Persona Arena, it's definitely been slowly rising. I mean, usually those games only get to see 1 year EVO, but I'm pretty sure pretty soon Fighter Z may be the first to have 2 years running in EVO. All in all, there's a big divide in fighting games because honestly, I forgot about the 4th one. So, in Savior, you gotta, you know, chop this and put it in the middle one, but I'm about to make this really simple. Brawlers were never meant to be fighting games. They were just party games to have fun with. People who made it turn competitive was wrong for that. Stop it. Melee is dead. I'll talk about that later. While it wasn't for everybody, 2017 was definitely a transitional year for fighting games where a lot of people who used to love Street Fighter 4 and would criticize anybody who plays fighting games that wasn't Street Fighter 4 has become more tolerant for people thanks to the fall of Street Fighter 5. But it's not like games got better. Tekken still feels like Tekken, Injustice still feels like an Injustice, and Guilty Gear still feels like Guilty Gear. It's just that now people's perception has changed Because KOF 13 was great, but nobody really seen it because it had bad online and nobody really talked about it, so it just got swept under the rug. And yes, I'm talking about KOF 13, not the other game. 13 was better, my opinion. All in all, fighting games are fun to me, no matter what subgenre it's in. I've always had a good time playing fighting games, but it's kind of ridiculous sometimes that we argue amongst each other about which game is better. To each his own, because anime has always been great to me, but you know, there's not that much love for it in tournaments and stuff. But you know, reigns supreme Street Fighter, which for some reason 5 done bad, but yet it's still the top dog thanks to its successors of 3 and 4 and so on. But again, thanks to the transition of 17, most people are starting to branch out and see the light of almost every single fighting game. So hopefully soon we'll get a great utopia and have the ultimate crossover of Street Fighter, Tekken, Guilty, Blue, Mania, Infinity Plus EX Alpha. So until next time, here's hoping. I'm your boy Slick. See ya.